Well, the Saddleback College Emeritus Institute offers all kinds of different classes that you can partake in. And one of them is art history. And returning with us, I spoke with him a while back, as Michael Redfield, art history instructor.
Good morning.
Nice to see you again,
Nice
sir.
to see you again.
Art history, back when probably I was in school, when you talked about art history, you're talking about, I guess, the classic artists going way, way back. Nowadays, of course, art history, it may be contemporary art history.
Absolutely.
Maybe looking at just just Hockney and places like that. Or it could be 200 years, 300 years.
Not
ago,
only
right?
that, it could be non-Western. I teach African art, Mesoamerican art, Oceanic, pretty much everything. It's a very expansive discipline. And fortunately for me, the Emeritus Institute students have been everywhere.
Right.
And it's wonderful to talk to them because as we talk about the importance of art history and understanding other cultures, for instance, we can talk specifically about places where we've both been.
Yes, that's
and
true.
that really enhances it. And they're very demanding. And there's so much changing all the time.
Yes,
that
there
I don't
is,
have to stick to a specific textbook or anything. This is very rigorous academic discipline for them.
The thing about talking about art history, again, maybe years ago, people were thinking of paintings and things like that, which is certainly part of it. But as you mentioned, oceanic art history, that could be things that were created, or even Native American artwork, that at the time wasn't even meant to be specifically for art. It was functional, but highly decorative.
Correct. In many places, for instance, in Africa, there is no word for art because the idea of an object just being put into a museum is a Western aesthetic. It doesn't have to do with everybody. In many cases, like with Mesoamerican art, African art, Oceanic art, those objects have a job to do.
Yes.
And to remove them and put them in a museum, which of course they can be in because of their quality, but that renders them useless in the eyes of the people who created them.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot that an art object can deliver.
Yeah, that's true. And you look at some of those pieces from those different cultures, and they did make them beautiful.
Oh, yes.
They didn't just make them functional.
Oh, no.
And so we may look at it today as artwork, and as you said, they looked at it like, well, this was a tool that was meant to do this, but let's make a beautiful tool out of it.
Well, what they did is the language of aesthetics is a universal one. And they took lines and shapes and colors, and they created things that would work for them, that would communicate for them, but which also met their very high standards of aesthetics. So these practical objects, there's nothing more beautiful, I don't think, than an African mask. And it channels the power of the spirit of the animal or whatever it happens to be through the person and into the community. And there are quite a few objects in pre-Columbian art also that function in that way. It's not just pretty pictures. These objects have design embedded in them, but they also have a specific power to communicate an aesthetic, an ideal, whatever it happens to be, of the people, and then everybody can understand it. Specific languages, human languages, are intended for one linguistic group, but art is a universal one. And all one has to do is begin to study the signs and the symbols of it. That's where the Emeritus Institute is so good, because they really want the details. They have the basics. They have the background. And now they want the details of what specifically the artist is intending to do, the who, what, when, where, why, and how about the objects.
With your course, do you just teach one, or do you teach different ones?
I teach one. It's 25X, and then what we do is, as the students request, we can go into more depth in different areas.
Okay.
It's a survey course, of course. But we can say they are particularly interested in Picasso, for instance. Well, we can look at a larger corpus of work of his to understand what he's doing. Why did he move into abstraction? What did he glean from his study of African masks, for instance? How did he introduce the non-Western aesthetic into European art? And we can go as far as they want in that particular area. Sometimes they want non-Western, sometimes we have a syllabus which we stay with, but we can also branch out. It's much more in-depth,
right,
than a regular just college course.
So you can, if need be, if you need to kind of change direction within the scope of the weeks that seem to be fulfilling what your students want, you can go in that direction.
Right. We do is we keep a chronology. We're studying artworks of the Western tradition primarily, and then as other areas become pertinent, for instance, African art with modern art, then we can go into that area, and I can show them specifically where the idea of abstraction, where it came from, and how did it affect modern art. Also, in terms of contemporary art, what are the trends in contemporary art? They want to know that. So we go actually beyond the end of the regular survey course into that.
There seems to be, at least to my novice eye, that when you look at certain artworks over the years, depending where they come from in the cultures, there's sort of a theme about the styles and colors that they use, and that could be just because of where they were located at the time and what's available to them. Native American art, you look at the colors that were in the Southwest versus the Northwest, and the styles are somewhat similar in the geographic patterns, but can be quite different in the materials and colors.
Absolutely. Just a wedding dress alone. And in some areas of the world, the wedding dress is white or cream, and others it's red, and some places it's green, some places it's multicolored.
Right.
In one of the areas I went to in Africa, there was a robe that the lady was wearing of all different colors.
Yeah.
And it was just remarkable, and that was the wedding dress, or red in Asia, that kind of thing. It's what one associates with an event, what color one associates with an event, and different cultures come up with different things.
Right, exactly.
And so it's fun, but nevertheless, we can still recognize colors. We don't have to have them explained to us. We know what is red, we know what is green, we know what is blue. Now we just associate the meaning of that culture with that particular color.
Exactly.
So,
now, within your class, do you folks ever take a field trip to anywhere?
Oh, Lord, yes. Yeah. Field trips are a wonder. We go to all the various museums in a radius of 100 miles, basically. And what the students do is they sign up, and I calculate how much the bus is going to cost. And then we go to the Getty in LA. Everybody's with me. I take the roll. I make sure nobody gets lost, that sort of thing. And once we're there, they can stay with me. We can do a tour. They also can branch out if they like. Sometimes they want to take an architectural tour or something else. And then we gather back together again. And then in the bus on the way home, it's an amazing analysis of artworks. It's really quite extraordinary. Nobody goes to sleep. Everybody talks. There's plenty of energy. I love the Emeritus Institute. It's really a wonderful group of students. It's a joy to teach them.
And great instructors, too.
Oh, yes. We have, it's expanding. The Emeritus program is expanding. There's a lot of different courses. And there's plenty of opportunities for people. Say you miss the deadline. Well, just because the course is started doesn't mean you can't take it. All one has to do in that case is call Emeritus, the wonderful people who work there, and they'll guide you. I can give you an ad code, whatever it happens to be, but it's not, they'll do everything to help you. It's a wonderfully flexible, open, friendly department. I've been there a long time now, and I just love it.
Fantastic. Well, Michael Redfield, again, instructor of art history with the Saddleback Emeritus Institute. And if you're interested online, saddleback.edu/emeritus, you can find out information there. When does your class take place, by the way?
It's Mondays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays. And we meet at different centers. Sometimes we meet at Palmilla or Sea Country or Norman Murray, and it would depend on the schedule.
Okay.
It's usually from 1 to 3, and everybody's welcome. The centers are extremely helpful. They're wonderful because they have so much to do, and yet they'll set me up. They'll get me set up. Everything's ready to go. All you have to do is get there.
All right.
And the more the merrier. I hope to see a lot of new students in the future.
Fantastic, Michael. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
All right. We will be right back.